A team with Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, and Paul George might have to just wave the flag for Cooper Flag. We're going to wait and see if the 76ers should tank or if there is an opportunity for them to dig themselves out of this hole. Well, right now, people, it does not look promising.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? It's Kayla Santiago alongside Keith Pompey, which you each and every day. And Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhoodgold.com/gold. There's a lot to discuss here and news coming out about the injuries prolonging these two stars to come back with the Philadelphia 76ers. So is it time to look at tanking this season? Joel Embiid and Paul George, they will still be sidelined. And on the other side, well, one positive thing is Jared McCain has an opportunity to really climb and stay at the top of that Rookie of the Year ladder. So let's start things off. Do you win or do you tank? The 76ers, if they stay in that top six, they will keep their pick. There's a lot of conversation going around. Keith, this is something you reported earlier in the year that there are people and medical teams out there that think Joel Embiid should sit the rest of the season, and the knee is really that bad. If the knee is that bad, I can't believe I'm saying this. I think you might have to throw the flag. Now, if there's a chance that he can play, then you say, okay, keep this team, let them try to get out of this hole and help them win. But if Joel's going to play one game and then that knee's going to swell up and then the next game he's going to be out for the next 5 games, what is the point of trying to rush him back to only further that injury? Not only that, he is never going to be at 100% if that is what he is dealing with all season long.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% because here's the deal. Like right about now, we're looking at the 76ers. They have the second worst record in the NBA. I was at practice yesterday on Tuesday, and Joel was walking around with a little slight limp, and he had on slippers, right? So it was like, he didn't practice. And the more I'm thinking about it is it's kind of like you look at this team. Now, the team has to improve a lot for me to change my mind, right? But I'm looking at this team and I'm saying to myself, like, wow, if Joel's knee is messed up now, what is it going to be like come playoff time? You look at this team, it's one of those things where, you know what, even if you make it to the lottery, the play-in game, you're basically not going to get a good pick. Well, they don't have a chance of winning it. Maybe I think I will go for the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. Now, the kicker is, though, the thing is right now, the Sixers are projected to get the number 1 pick according to mock drafts, right? Just because they have, arguably the worst record, they think they're the worst team. But if they don't tank and if they don't finish within the top 6 in the lottery, they won't have their draft pick. It will go to the Oklahoma City Thunder. So can you imagine this Sixers team basically struggling to make the playoffs or basically just making it as like the 8 seed and they get swept or they lose in the first round and they don't have a draft pick? I don't think it's worth it. If it's me, I'm going after Cooper Flag, and there's some other guys out there that this is supposed to be an extremely deep draft. They have Ace Bailey, another guy who's pretty good. So to me, I think that if it's me, I'm tanking. Now, again, I'll give it a couple weeks to see what's going on with Joel's knee. But outside of that, I think I got to go after the guy, Cooper Flag, who would be a great fit for the 76ers.
He would be. My issue with this whole thing is Joel, when he plays with that brace on, he already can't be as mobile as he really wants to. We saw him in one game this season feel remotely comfortable out there on the floor. The swelling comes in and out, and if that's a consistent thing, I agree with you in the sense of, hey, we just need to figure it out as a team if you're the Philadelphia 76ers, as in we, and sit down as an organization and look at this of shutting Joel Embiid down for the rest of the year, because this team will not win anything without Joel Embiid. Even if Paul George is at 100%, they are still not going to win anything, and they're not going to get out of the second round. You need Joel Embiid to be 100% healthy. The other thing they could think of is, well, hey, Joel really is struggling with this injury. The swelling is coming back. Why don't we just do what we were going to do if you're the Philadelphia 76ers and essentially load manage him without getting fined? But then what happens? They're already 3-13 without him. You might not even make the playoffs if Joel Embiid isn't on the floor. I mean, this team is really bad without their stars. There is no definite there that you are going to make the postseason, even maybe a playing game, if Joel is injured and out for a majority of games. With that being said, too, the chemistry hasn't been there. It's not going to click once you get to playoff time either. So a lot more bad can happen if they try to force Joel to play or try to keep on winning and have Joel just sidelined for right now and then bring him back later on. If this injury is as serious as it is, I think you need to shut him down, and I think you need to tank. But I think those two go hand in hand, Keith. If you're going to try and tank, Joel Embiid has to be shut down for the rest of the season.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt, and give Paul George some time off too, right? But here's the thing: I think the big question is when we really figure this out is like I expect them to lose tonight. Like I know the Houston Rockets are coming off. This is going to be their second game of a back-to-back, right? The young team, I get all that, but I expect the Sixers to lose tonight. The question is when they go to Detroit on Saturday, how are they going to perform? And if they lose to Detroit, then that's a bad look. Then they go to Charlotte, a team that's one of the two teams they defeated this year, the Indiana Pacers and the Charlotte Hornets. And if they lose that game, I honestly believe it doesn't matter. It just doesn't. Because here's the thing. We look at it. They won. They won a game, then they lost 5. They won a game, and then they lost 5 again. Right now, beforehand, a week ago, you and I said, well, they get 5 victories by the time November is over with, before they get into December. I don't see it happening, Kayla. I just don't at all. They have 3 wins. That means they have to win the next 2. I don't think it's going to happen. This is going to be a struggle. And like you said, if Joel Embiid's knee is still swollen and stuff like that, just shut it down. And even if it's healthy, I think you need to shut it down because I don't think this team is going to go far in the playoffs.
It's not in how healthy, quote unquote, is he going to be, because so far they pushed him to play and he doesn't look 100%. And that wrap on his knee is just not allowing him to do what he needs to do, or he's in his mind the mental game of saying, okay, this is around my knee, I can't play or I can't move like I used to. And it's not only that. I mean, they're definitely going to lose against the Rockets. I would be absolutely shocked if they pull out a win against that team that's very young, very athletic, and hot at the right time. You also have Kyle Lowry out of this game, and then Martin listed as questionable, and that's Kayla Martin with low back soreness. So you're not only missing Joel Embiid and Paul George, you were missing 2 other players. And Lowry, once again, we talked about his age, how he's a vet, how he's not going to be getting so many minutes either way just because of his age and his play right now. But you're looking at Martin also being questionable, Lowry being out of this game. They're not going to win against the Rockets. And this is a situation for me where Paul George did go out and say, hey, we are going to have time to get out of this. We'll be okay. We'll be all right. I don't know if anybody in that locker room organization truly believes that, unless they know something that we don't, that Joel Embiid is just going to be miraculously be okay from this injury and he's going to be at 100%. Because right now this doesn't look good. And not only are you not able to win games, you are losing guys. Players are dropping like flies at this point. You have 3 players out. 1 is questionable. Now Martin might play, but at the same time, I mean, no chance they win against the Rockets. And you're having other players, including Joel and Paul George now, having to be sidelined too.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Now, here's the thing. Let's say Martin doesn't play. So you have 3 starters and a part-time starter who you're missing. The 3 starters, of course, being Martin, Embiid, and PG, and Kyle Lowry was a part-time starter. I should say, that's basically, he started more games than he did in this season, right?
Yeah.
So you look at that. So if Martin does not play, tonight is going to be their 17th game of the season. They would have 10 different starting lineups through 17 games. That's crazy. That's crazy. That just tells you how this season has been such a failure or disappointment, right? Due to the injuries. So there's no continuity. And I think we're both in agreement that it's like, hey, it's all about the future, about saving that draft pick and getting Cooper Flag if you can.
It is really crazy that we're discussing this in the time of Joel Embiid when it was consistently bringing James Harden and bringing Paul George in to make a fit for Joel. And now we're saying, well, shut him down for the rest of the year. But it is because of that injury and how he's playing right now, and have him sideline, tank, get another player, the best in the draft class, and go back and try to go to that drawing board once again the following season and do what you need to do in the prime of Joel Embiid. So we're going to touch on more of Joel and Paul George being sidelined. I mean, this season right now, it's pretty much over before it even started at this point. It has been a really tough year for the Philadelphia 76ers, and we're going to break down even more when we come back in just a moment. And with Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial flavors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% as well. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhoodgold.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. And hey, NFL fans, going to FanDuel, make sure you go check it out, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game and you want to view live play-by-play stats and the latest as well, make sure you head to the place where you can place all of your bets. That's FanDuel.com. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's at FanDuel.com. Make sure you visit FanDuel.com today. So two of the bottom teams in the NFC East right now, the Cowboys and Giants, they will duel it out. But hey, at the end of the day, any type of division game, especially in the NFL, always seems to be a close one. The dramatics are out there. Everything in between. The rivalry is still there between these two squads. So make sure you check out the bets right now. Dallas is actually the favorite team in this one, -3.5. If you think that Dallas will come out on top, make sure you head over to FanDuel right now. These bets can change by the hour, by the day. So if you want to lock this in, you need to head over to FanDuel. That's America's #1 sportsbook. Be sure to visit FanDuel.com today to place all your sports bet. There's no better place than FanDuel to do so. So it's happening again. Paul George and Joel Embiid both sideline. And Paul George comes out and says he does hope to return within a week to this team for the Philadelphia 76ers. It's been tough to get everybody on the same page consistently. And Paul George does believe that there still is a chance and that he's in a good place to help this team get out of the rut that they've currently been in. I mean, this squad can't win games, how they're constructed, without Paul George and Joel Embiid. And you look at Daryl Morey in situations like this and you say, okay, well, you pay a lot for PG, you give Joel an extension. Of course, there's going to be players that you bring in that you have to bring in for a little bit of a smaller price, bringing in some vets as well to try to be able to go on and win it all. But you don't think about when those guys get hurt and the guys that you paid so much money, now this is the team that you have, and now this is the reality. So this is a huge blow for really the organization, the team, Tyrese Maxey, other guys on the squad, that Joel Embiid and Paul George still aren't returning, but PG does be expected to be back within the week.
Yeah. I mean, it is a tough one. And not only that, I mean, PG even said it. He said right about now, with those two guys being injured, it's basically leading to other guys overextending themselves and getting injured, a la Kyle Lowry, a la Caleb Martin, right? So these are two guys who, they had freak injuries, but at the same time, they were overextending themselves, playing a lot of minutes, doing different things, trying to fill the big guy's shoes, trying to fill PG's shoes and the whole nine. But yeah, this is kind of sad because I do expect Paul George to come back, but it was weird watching him yesterday watching him do one-on-one drills after practice. I mean, that knee brace was bulky. I mean, it looked like it was hard for him to move a little bit. He even said it was hard, but you look at it and these injuries just destroying the season. And I guess that's why we were even talking about in the first segment, should they tank? But this is tough for them. I mean, they're going to go into these matchups without them. Without these players. I do expect PG to be back, but I would not be surprised if Joel like missed a couple more games. Now PG, he said within next week. So to me, that might mean when they go to Charlotte or something like that, maybe, right? I mean, that's early next week. But Embiid, he was walking around with slippers on and had a little slight limp. It didn't look good for him.
And it doesn't look good for this team right now because it's not only Paul George and Joel Embiid. Think about this, people. Tyrese Maxey is coming off a hamstring injury, and those can nag at you consistently. I was an athlete growing up, and I dealt with it myself, and not at the same level as an NBA player whatsoever. So when you look at it, you say, okay, well, Tyrese Maxey, maybe he's getting back to that 100%, but he's still coming off a very recent injury. And now he's your number one scoring option. He's really your number one everything. And he is looked at with Joel Embiid and Paul George out to bring this team out of the rut, out of the hole that they're in right now. So not only is it hurting and affecting the other players like a Martin, like a Lowry, but at the same time, if you lose Tyrese Maxey, I mean, the season is seriously over at this point. And this was the worry for us in the beginning of the year when Joel Embiid and Paul George said they weren't playing back-to-backs, when Joel and PG took some time to come back. And then when they came back, we said, all right, well, now Tyrese Maxey has some time, then he gets injured. But now it's all up to Tyrese Maxey once again. I mean, this is allowing other guys like a Maxey, like Kane, really be out there and just playing a lot, practicing a lot, their bodies trying to keep up with the day-to-day. Because if you then sit Tyrese Maxey out on a day of rest, you've really got nobody to look upon right now. And it's really tough for this Philadelphia 76ers team. I mean, we've seen it with Joel Embiid throughout his career, but it really hasn't been this treacherous and this bad besides the beginning of his career. And I say that, and I know we've seen him play with a broken face and play with a torn thumb as well. But this was the year that you got PG. This was the year that Joel was an Olympic champion and came in and was supposed to be ready for the season. And now we're talking about shutting him down for the rest of the year. And every day, the hope of maybe him coming to play on this team, and then he's sidelined again. I mean, there's a lot to make of this right now, but this team is really going to struggle. And Paul George seems to be positive about the situation in the sense of trying to come back and help out the guys. But, you know, PG re-injured the same injury that he already had. What goes to say that that leg and that knee is not going to hurt him going forward and that he's still going to be worried about re-injuring that same knee? I mean, it is just a dumpster fire. And I've used that word before, Keith, right now in Philadelphia with all of these injuries.
Yeah, I mean, it is a dumpster fire when you come down to that. And I'm pretty sure you're going to use that word several more times throughout the season. But yeah, I mean, just looking at that knee brace and to keep harping, not to keep harping over it, but it's one of those things where it has to be, I don't know, a problem. Like who wants to play with that thing? You know what I mean? Is who just wants to? And then you look at it and we're looking at, it's funny. We two guys, you talk about the dancing bear, Yabusele. You know, he was being interviewed yesterday as the starting center. You know, he came here to be the backup power forward, but now he's the starting center because Joel Embiid's injured. We look at Jared McCain, which is a great story right now, but initially he was supposed to be a guy who had the battle for minutes and probably was going to go down in the G League to get some reps. And now he's the only bright spot, consistent bright spot. So, you know, it's just these injuries have really hampered him. And, you know, unfortunate is one of those things that just keeps continuing to go on and on and on and on again.
And some people might be looking at us and saying, well, why do you want to shut it down? It's still early in the season. But think of any other team that their two best players were in and out, in and out. Think of their best player having a situation where the swelling can be up and down at any given moment. And medical teams have said, you probably should shut him down because we've seen this before. Think of the Celtics without Tatum and without Brown. Think of all these other teams, Jokic and Murray. You look at that as well. You look at Giannis and Dame. I mean, no other team in the NBA with two stars like that is going to be able to consistently win games or maybe even make the playoffs when they start at 3-13. It's just not realistic at this point. And if any more comes out of this situation with Joel Embiid, I think you have to shut him down. Keith, I'm going to ask you this, and I know it's tough to predict this going forward, but how long are you giving it when you make your decision of, hey, they need to shut this down or they can keep it going? How long will you give it before Joel Embiid comes back to play the game of basketball? Because we could be looking at weeks at this point, but then is it even worth it to bring him back? Where are you on that? And how long are you giving it until you say, all right, it might be time to look at the process years again and tank like they've done once before?
I mean, I'm leaning towards that really heavily. I mean, I think by the end of next week, I mean, I really have to. I mean, that's the deadline. Like, I mean, for me, and even if Joel comes back, it's how he looks when he comes back, because we're looking at this like Houston is a good team, but then they're going up against the Detroit Pistons, a team that ran away from them the last time they played, and then they're going to go up against Charlotte, a team that they barely beat, right? So you look at that, and if they struggle against those two teams, and then they go against Orlando, a team that beat them, they have two. And if they don't win any of those games, or they just win one of them, and we look at it, and this team is like towards the bottom, still the bottom in the standings, I'm like, hey, maybe it's time to tank. And Cooper Flag isn't the only quality guy they could get.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
I feel like at that point, you just got to shut it down, because what is it? Joel played 3 games and then he had to shut it down. That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign.
And he only looked decently good in one of them, too. The one bright spot of the Philadelphia 76ers has to be the rookie who is on top of the ladder right now for Rookie of the Year. We're going to wait and see how we can analyze Jared McCain a little bit and see where he's at among other rookies in this league. And Bilt is breaking ground as a neighborhood rewards program that hooks you up with points on your rent every month. Pay your rent and watch the Bilt points roll in as well. Pay rent hassle-free through Bilt Rewards app. Your rent game just got a major upgrade. Bilt points have been consistently ranked the highest value point currency by the Points Guy and Bank Rate. Earn points by paying rent right now when you go to joinbilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That's joinbilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Make sure to use our URL so they know we sent you. Joinbilt.com/LockedOnNBA to start earning points with your rent payments today. All right, so Jared McCain, he has been so fun to watch. I'm going to compare his numbers really quick to what we've seen from Dalton Connect, who coming into the draft was the player that I thought the Philadelphia 76ers should go after, and then he was more of a win-now type player. He's still on the board when the 76ers have their pick. They take Jared McCain. We both thought there was a situation where McCain might have to go down to the G League on assignment just to get some playing time. Well, he made his point proven because he's been playing really well. So Jared McCain right now, it's gone down just a little bit, but 16.6 points per game, 2.2 rebounds, 2.8 assists, and shooting 46.2% from the field. Dalton Connect, 11.5 points right now. He is averaging per game 2.8 rebounds, 1.1 assists, and 51% from the field as well. Is it even possible if the 76ers decide to tank at this point for Jared McCain to win Rookie of the Year? I mean, he has been such a bright spot for this team, really the only bright spot. And if I'm the voters right now, what I would be looking at if he can keep this up is he is carrying the Philadelphia 76ers, and which was a team with Joel Embiid, Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey. He has consistently been the best player on the floor. Outside of the last game, the Clippers were able to figure out how to defend him.
Yeah, he's been the best player on the floor, and it's he's playing hard. I mean, he's been a really good bright spot. I mean, the thing that really impressed me the most was just his the way that he was getting better and better by the weeks. Like each week he kept improving. I do think that right now he is the front runner for Rookie of the Year now, and there's still a lot of season left, right? And things could happen. But to me, what I really want to see is how's he going to maneuver and how he's going to adjust to the way these defenses are playing, right? How is he going to come out there and play? But yeah, you got to say that he was phenomenal. And it's funny because he and Dalton Connect are like the front runners for Rookie of the Year. One was the 16th pick. The other one was the 17th. But he's playing well. I mean, I just have to give it to him. He's playing extremely well.
If you're the Sixers organization right now and you look at how well Jared McCain is playing, does that give you more of an enticing look to say, hey, let's try to turn this thing around? Because now not only do we have 3 guys that can score, we also have 4 guys that can really go out there and play ball. Even if Joel might not be at 100%, do you think it is worth trying to regroup this team back together because Jared McCain has been playing so well? I wouldn't go as far to say that. Maybe that's something the organization looks at, because what we've seen so far is they are trying to push Joel to play, or maybe Joel's trying to push himself to play at this point, even more than maybe he should be out there. Is it worth trying to push Joel that much because you have a rookie? I think if he's really hurt, you shut him down and you still have Jared McCain for the future. That was a pick he was anyway. He really was able to shine bright in his rookie year. So far, it's still early, but you still have him for years to come.
You know what? I wouldn't. I mean, like, I don't think it's worth it. And here's my reasoning, because when we look at it, when we talk about, you have Jared McCain, and yes, he's playing well, but since he's been in the starting lineup, they only won 1 game, right? I mean, he was playing well now, but they only won 1 game. When we look at it, in order for them to go deep in the playoffs, Joel Embiid has to play at an extremely high level. He's not even close to doing that. So Jared McCain can do some great things. Tyrese Maxey can do some great things. The same with Paul George. But we all know that they're not going to go far unless Joel Embiid takes them. So shut it down. And guess what? If you do get Cooper, then guess what? You have a Duke general manager. You have a Duke second-year point guard, and you'll have a rookie wing from Duke. So then you just have a Duke family. So Jared McCain, I love you and all this other stuff, but if Joel's not healthy and playing at a high level, I don't see them going far.
Especially with the teams too in the Eastern Conference you look at. I mean, the Celtics are so far above anybody right now. The Cavs really kind of behind them, and then you look at the Knicks too. When you look at the bigs for these teams, especially in New York, I mean, the 76ers aren't going to go anywhere without Joel Embiid, but those teams are just so good that maybe having a Jared McCain, Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey would be good throughout the regular season, but it's not going to get you very far without Joel Embiid. So Jared McCain, I mean, he has balled out, and I've been loving to see what he's been able to do. Taking a little bit after Tyrese Maxey, those two have been able to benefit off each other. And I don't know if I ever thought in a million years that Jared McCain would come to the Philadelphia 76ers. And we've touched on this before. Did Jared McCain want to get drafted to maybe what we called a bad team last year and get more playing time, or be on a team that's in win now mode and get less playing time? Well, now he's on a team that wants to win now, but is really bad, and everybody's injured, and he's still getting a lot of points and showing up even when those best guys are on the floor. So he's definitely, I think if you're the Sixers organization, you hold on to him and you say that he is somebody that you can look to build with going on in the future of him and Tyrese Maxey. So, I mean, Jared McCain, he's been playing lights out so far. I don't know how it's going to look for the rest of the season because, Keith, we've touched on it, how the Clippers were able to defend him. So many teams are going to throw that at him now, knowing that it worked against the Philadelphia 76ers when they played the Clippers in that last game.
Yeah, right. And it's funny. I mean, my thing is, you know what, let this guy, though. I mean, teams are going to defend him. They're going to do a lot of different things. But at this particular point, he's the only consistent bright spot that we said beforehand. Just let him ball out and have fun. I mean, let's face it. Right now, because Joel hasn't played enough games, Paul George the same thing probably, and Maxey the same. He might be the only guy at All-Star Weekend participating in the game. I mean, really, like he may.
Yeah, seriously, right.
I mean, seriously, as good as Tyrese is, I think him missing games at this particular point, he has to do some catching up in regards to other guards. PG just hasn't played enough. And Joel, even if he gets picked, I doubt if he plays. But he's only played in 4 games. So right now, it's just let Jared McCain have fun, get Rookie of the Year, do whatever you have to do, and let him go to All-Star Weekend and let him do TikToks and the whole nine, and everybody's happy.
It's funny. I thought in the beginning I was going to get frustrated with the TikToks, like when Juju did it in the NFL, and say, all right, well, you need to play better. But Jared McCain can do what he wants right now on TikTok because he's been balling out. So whatever he wants to do, whatever dances he wants to get trending, hey, why not? Go do it because you're balling out on the court too. So have fun, have your fun, and go out there and ball out. Once again, he's been the one really bright spot for the Philadelphia 76ers on a really, really tough season so far. So no Paul George, no Kyle Lowry, and no Joel Embiid. Still waiting if Martin will play. He is currently questionable right now against the Rockets. That game is tonight at 7 p.m. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On 76ers. For Keith Pompey, I'm Kayla Santiago saying so long, and we'll see you next time.